currently waiting for Chris. Whilst we're currently waiting for Chris, everybody who's joining now and everybody who wasn't here for 15 minutes beforehand, we have a FAQ channel, an FAQ page on our official Multiverse website for giving everyone the information. If you can take a look at the FAQ channel, in there it now shows you all of the information and answers to questions that have previously been asked in AMAs prior to this one. So if you are going to ask a question today, please have a read over the FAQ channel before you ask the question. But that being said, we do have a lot to discuss today, because not only have we had a very large amount of questions, we've got a few little surprise announcements that we're quite excited to tell you about. But we won't mention that until I get Chris up on the stage. I've invited you, Chris, so you should be able to join.
Right, that's why I couldn't join.
Ah.
Okay.
Hello, Chris, and welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Good. Now everyone's here. Let me just quickly send this link into the YouTube chat so that the YouTube chat knows where the FAQ is, and then we can kick off. So one moment. In the meantime, you can both complain about how hot it is in your regions. Okay.
It's not actually here. It's quite pleasant.
It's absolutely boiling here. Okay, that is done. Onwards and upwards. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking part in the AMA. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, San, for taking your time to answer the community's questions. There has been an over-enthusiastic level of questions, including, no doubt, more that will come today. So, let's just get straight into the ones that we've had. So, the first one that has been waiting for quite a while.
Before we do that, can I nudge you to start the event, or shall I? Or
it started. It says it's happening now.
Mine, it still says it's needing to start. I'm going to click it anyway.
Yeah, just click it. That's fine.
I'm going to click it too.
Oh, okay. You both can click it. So.
Yay! Clicked.
Stan got there first.
Okay. So the first question that has been on everybody's lips for the last 2-3 weeks, mainly following the last village drop that we put out, was how are we going to address the building growth exploit, and how do we want to tackle the aftermath of said building growth exploit? So to make it very clear, it's not a bug. It definitely is an exploit. Chris, Sam, anybody want to weigh in?
Shall I answer it, since I created the bug? So I have given this a ridiculous amount of thought and tried to think through every possible option and who it'll annoy and who it won't annoy, and whether it would actually get rid of exploits or just cause more complicated ones. And I've basically come down to the conclusion that we're going to do the simple thing and make it that buildings will only show, and in other ways such as view height, utilize a certain number of free slots. I don't know exactly what the numbers will be right now, but as an example, we might say, well, if a building has got 10 apartments owned, it will show and use a maximum of 2 free apartments. So you'll still be able to see, oh, look, that building's got a few free apartments there. But buildings that are currently massively exaggerated will, on the day we do the update, go plunk down to their correct size. It's the simple, brutal solution, but I think it's really the only one that solves the exploit once and for all.
And to clarify,
and just gets it done.
You have taken into consideration all of the suggestions we've had, including not growing the building unless someone's purchased it, adding a timer to say, like, in X amount of time this has been unoccupied for, it will shrink. We've considered a lot of these options. Chris has wrecked his brain for days on end.
I've even half written some of them, like, you know, and only having got halfway through writing it, gone, you know what, this isn't going to work. There's this other way of exploiting it. I've read every single idea. I've tried to take into account every single opinion, and even, as I say, started writing some things with timers and stuff like that. And every time I went down the path, I just ended up coming to this point where I was like, this is only going to work if we just fix the exploit properly.
Exactly. I think it's the best
Sometimes
choice.
you just got to take that decision.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is by far the simplest and best choice, and there's no need to make it needlessly complex. Mainly because I know that we have a lot of very beneficial features lined up, and fixing that exploit as soon as possible is the best way.
Yeah.
There's no need.
That's the other advantage of the simple option, is we can do it quickly.
Yeah.
There won't be bugs in it because it will be really simple.
Yeah. So the other most talked about question recently, in fact, I think people rumbling, discussing it in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of days, and even again today, people really want to know, have either of you two progressed any further on your discussions or conflict around what the best direction for avatars coming to the app should be?
Yeah, on this one, we're just going to have to admit that we forgot to record the mud bath wrestle that we had. But we did have one, and we came to a conclusion. What was it, Chris?
I have acknowledged that we need to do avatars. Yes, we will do avatars.
Wonderful.
Yes, there you go.
That's
yes.
great. I know a lot of people will be excited. But it's also worth mentioning this isn't a start from scratch scenario. There's already been a lot of legwork done on conceptualizing some of the potential avatars. So it's not a case of things have been on hold whilst you've been making this decision. I know.
No, the avatars is a significant task, and I mean it's not going to appear tomorrow, but we have and will be exploring some very exciting ways of making it fun to have avatars, and they will be rolled out slowly over time as we continue to develop the tech and allow for things like more content, more textures and models in the app at the same time. So there are a lot of knock-ons, a lot of different things, but we will be having them, and I think we have a plan to do this that will both be exciting but also work and look good and feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed.
And integrate into a bigger idea and concept of what a metaverse is, which I think is probably a really important part of it.
As long as I can run around wearing a horse head, I'm happy. The next question that we had, what was that, San? What was that?
No comment.
Oh, okay. The next question that we've had is volume control. I know we briefly mentioned it before. I think now we've had a kind of more precise push towards having the ability or being able to control the volume in our storefronts, because it is very much hit and miss, and people don't know the restrictions that they have to work or operate within to be able to have a good balance of audio. So they're just really asking, are we going to do anything about providing volume control? And is that any indication of the restrictions that are currently in place for them?
Yeah, I mean, I fully acknowledge it is a problem. It's not something I consider okay as it currently stands. I mean, we need to do, I think that there's a few areas surrounding it. It's not just about volume control. It's about making sure that by default, if you put a sensibly balanced video in a room, it sounds sensible. And I think there's areas where we don't have that even. Ultimately as well, yes, we acknowledge it's a problem, and sooner or later we need to add the ability for people to control the volume of their videos in-app as well. If for no other reason than if you're building a nice experience, ultimately the best way to tell if your video volume is correct is to be able to stand in the environment and listen to the video and turn it up and down.
Yeah. And on that note, a couple of people have noted that Ollie managed to turn off the birds and the storefronts
Mm-hmm.
music. And I think we should just all give a big shout out to Ollie and say, "You rock, Ollie!"
Yeah, good job,
Because
Ollie.
that was cool.
Those birds were irritating.
I quite liked them.
Yeah, outside, but in the house. But yeah, it's good to know that the volume controls are for sure on the horizon, and we need to do something about it. We just need to figure out the little tweaks that need to be made, because I think San mentioned that not all videos that we put into the multiverse have the same kind of base levels. There's a lot to take into consideration.
Yeah. I mean, one of the issues is that a lot of people upload different videos, and different videos have been made with different volume bases. So some videos are actually silent, but then an app like YouTube might increase the audio to come out higher. And we can't just do that because we don't know necessarily what your intended audio would like to be. Maybe you just want to have some very silent, soft music in the background. And if we gained it without, people choosing to, then that would destroy it in another way. So I think that there are a lot of different things to take into account. But like Chris says, as a company and a team, we acknowledge that there's an issue there. We need to fix it. But it's not just as simple as all that, and we will get to it at some point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good to know. Another question that came in recently is, people have already noticed that we're periodically, in the last few days, in the last week or so, we've started to post some kind of interesting stats or interesting facts about the activity in the app, and some have been asking if there's a possibility that we could get more. And I know previously we've said that analytics are going to come out just before finishing beta.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we see analytics is not that they'll come out just before beta, but more that once we've finished with the app and we're out of beta, then we can start adding analytics properly, because at that point we actually know what we're tracking and what we're making work, and we're not going to build some tech that will break the next week. Chris did very, very cool tech a couple of years ago where we were actually able to track things like eyeballs on screens and which screens people had looked at for how long and all of that. And it broke very quickly, not because the tech was bad, but because we changed the way the app works and the app progressed. So adding analytics and things while the app is still in development is just a silly idea, because it means we end up rewriting the code multiple times. So what we need to do is have a finished product that we can say, this is what we are going to be tracking, and at that point start letting that data come out. However, your point about some of the data that we launched, two things I'd like to say. First of all, that was some really interesting data. Some numbers that surprised me. Chris went into the back end and pulled them out for our own interest, and we decided to share some of it. But the numbers there were significant, and that's really interesting. That's very cool for all of us to know and to see. There is real value in the properties that people own and how they're using them and how they're transacting them. And interestingly enough, an apartment was much more valuable than a penthouse. So there are, depending on where the location is and what the apartment building is or whatever it is, there are some really interesting numbers there. One thing. The second thing is we would like to give out more potentially, but at the same time, we've got to be careful. There are issues around data, and a lot of people ask, well, which building is it, which apartment is it, and things like that. And that we need to be cautious of, because we don't want to just go out and say, oh, by the way, Chris, somebody that sold an apartment for X amount, and when Chris wants to be, doesn't want that public. So there are things that we need to be cautious of before we give out more information, and that's why a lot of the information that we gave out was very generic and didn't have detail. But when we get to a point where that stuff is going to be displayed more prominently in the app, which we will get to, then we will find a way to make that work for everybody. And that's something we are looking into, because it's valuable information, it's interesting information, and it really gives the app a different perspective, knowing those things. So, but there's another feature that we'll be talking about soon that will relate to this. I think I'll come back to that. Once we've talked about the other feature.
Yeah, exactly. So on that note, one of the questions that we had in the last few days was, are people going to have the ability to auction off their apartments? I think this would be a good time to mention one of the things we'd like to share. Zan, would you like to share?
Yay. So what we want to share is that not just is Ollie awesome because Ollie turns off birds in storefronts, but Ollie has been working on some very, very cool tech in the background that we're going to discuss today and announce will be coming soon. I can't tell you when. We still need to iron it out, and because of the complexity of the tech, we need to make sure that we test it a lot more than we have. But we are looking to implement offers. Way! And offers will be very cool. I mean, already so far we've seen a lot of excitement with them internally. The way they work, the notifications you get when somebody accepts an offer or sends you an offer. We've even looked at people that have signed into multiverseonline.io, getting emails with information about that, like they do with sales. And offers, I think, will probably evolve a little bit over time, but the first iteration of them is already pretty powerful. And I think we're all going to be quite excited to see those appear in the app and be able to go in and make an offer.
Yeah.
Again, another feature we're about to announce shortly is going to make those even more powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's, it's all tying together into a nice big release at some point soon.
I think...
I think it's going to be... It's huge that... I mean, the player-to-player sales that we have right now, putting things on for a market sale, I think is a good feature. But because it takes somebody to take a proactive step to decide to sell something, it's what limits the current player-to-player trading more than anything else. Whereas when you can walk up to a place you like and make somebody an offer on it, and somebody can still take the proactive step to say, I don't want to accept offers, actually. But once the default is there, it's going to unlock player-to-player trading in a way that we've not seen to date, I think.
I think that's important to note is that we've said this previously in AMAs that the point of the trading system is we don't want people to instant sell or sell now back to the app. We want to move away from that as much as we can to ensure that the preference is always going to be player-to-player trading. So I think it's probably now is a good time to mention that in conjunction with the offers being added, in the soonish future, we will be removing the sell now button or removing the sell now option. We just need to assess how well offers go. And I think that's the same with auctions. The actual concept of an auction, we're open to it. We want to consider implementing it, but we need to assess how well the offers system does. And potentially in the future, we can consider implementing auctions for, say, for example, there was this suggestion for the exclusive buildings. So if a building is added and people can't necessarily run to it straight away and buy it the moment it drops, holding some of them back and putting them up as a timed open auction, or using the offer system to do that instead to see how well, say for example, I think Sam made the suggestion of if the exclusive building was owned by the game and people were allowed to put in offers within a certain time frame, the highest offer would eventually get it. So
I mean, I think the biggie is
specifically what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are looking at how offers work and how they conflict with or go hand in hand with auctions, and as a result work out what we're going to do for auctions. Auctions are a great idea, but they're also extremely complex. And I think the offer system done right, which obviously Ollie will do first off, no problems, amazingly, is going to be the first step in that direction. Isn't that right, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it from a kind of a slightly programmery perspective, offers are the ability for you to take an apartment and say, I'm willing to pay this amount on it, and for the other person to say, I won't accept that amount, and for you to say, well, how about this amount? And if you add in the ability potentially to let you see what the peak offer someone else has made to it, then all of a sudden what you've really got there is an auction. And the question, that next step will be to say, well, based on how well this is going, do we want to reinforce the idea of an auction and support automatic time limits, or actually is it evolving fine by itself and that's unnecessary? Or at least a lower priority. We may see it and go, auctions will make this explode. Obviously, we need to do them now. Or we may look at it and say, we've got loads of things to do and offers are nailing it. So what's the point in pushing the feature further tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
I think just to highlight as well, I mean, there's the other feature. It's very important to tie all these together, was the discovery menu.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because for me, big part, you mentioned Sell Now, the reason we consider and we talk about phasing out Sell Now is our objective is to make it not necessary, because it's so easy to make trades between players. Offers is a key part of that. Offers make that proactive process disappear. The next step is the discovery menu, which, I mean, do you want to talk about that, Sam?
Yeah, I love the idea of the discovery menu, and I think it's just, it's going to be such a powerful tool for the app. And yeah, for those of you that haven't heard about what the discovery menu is, let's go through it a little bit in detail. First of all, it's something that we've been working on for months, and it's something that we take very seriously. One of the things that we've realized with the app is it's so huge. I mean, it exploded in size, number of metaverses, number of buildings, number of locations, number of people, that the scale of the app needs to be navigatable in a way that is quicker, faster, more user-friendly, and actually giving you what you want, giving you what you're interested in. So we've come up with this idea. I think it was, Chris, Ollie, me, and then eventually Leon, who has now had the amazing task of implementing it, is, let's find a way to use something that people are familiar with and give them a way to get access to content that they want. And if you think about it, whether it's Netflix, or whether it's the Apple App Store, or whether it's, Google, once you've done a search result, you get a list of content, and that content has different elements of detail to it, or it has, for example, with Netflix, movies you might want to watch, or it has TV shows that you might watch because they're in the crime genre. And that type of categorization of data and information is something that's been sourly missing from Multiverse and Infiniverse at the moment, and the discovery menu is there to basically implement that. So what we're looking to do is give people a place they can go to, a single menu, single option, something that's a bit more complex than the risk menu, but that gives them the ability to do, look for apartments for sale, look for apartments for sale near them, look for apartments for sale under 500 Metacoin, look for apartments for sale over 500,000 Metacoin. Whatever it is that they want to do on apartments or penthouses, be able to do that. But then also go in and look at what events are coming up. What events do I want to attend? What events are being hosted by owners of metaverses and buildings I'm in that I follow? Or what... the list can go on and get more and more complex. And obviously we won't start with a complex list. But that idea that there is a place that you can go to where the content that is relevant to you becomes displayed. Maybe storefronts in buildings I own an apartment in.
Yeah.
Or
does that include friends and other people's
penthouses? Yeah. I think we'll be adding. I mean, we'll be adding all sorts of things. I mean, we're going to experiment with the discovery menu. Has been designed to allow us to continuously experiment with new ways to present this stuff. Whether it's simple, boring things like, I mean, you know what? Listing your friends will still be important and will be in there. But equally, listing penthouses near me that I can afford that are above storefronts is also interesting. So we'll be trying all these different options. We've deliberately designed the system to make it easy to try these different options. And we designed a lot of it based around the Oculus store menu as well. So it should hopefully be very familiar to everyone instantly.
I think that's really powerful. Again, we can't. I'm going to keep on talking about how awesome it is until you guys get it, and then you'll go, it's not that awesome, Sam. Then you'll realize actually it is. But the power of discoverability and the power that that's going to give to businesses, the power it's going to give to storefronts, the ability to go in and click on a list of storefronts, see where they are, see storefronts your friends have visited, see storefronts in, that sort of content or metaverses is going to be so powerful for that discoverability that we do so sourly lack at the moment. And I'm just very, very, very much looking forward to launching that as soon as we possibly can.
I think we've also forgotten to mention that as a direct result of the discovery menu, it will feature events that have been requested by users, including as part of that, users will soon be able to directly request an event from Multiverse Online, and that will tie into the discovery menu.
Yeah, I mean, users will actually be able to fully create and host their own events. There can be multiple events running at the same time. They will all appear in the discovery menu. And the bit where we will be involved will be, as we're currently doing, and as some people have already worked with us, if we decide to promote an event on the Oculus Store, that's another level up. But even without taking to that step, entirely independently of having to pester us and send us images, users will be able to fully create and host their own events solely via the website.
I know Wendy will be happy with that.
Yes, I mean, there's a couple of different things to that are powerful. If you own a storefront, you want to be able to drive users to your storefront. Hosting an event is going to be a fantastic way of being able to do that, and you'll be able to do something like if you remember when we launched the Alliance City, or when Alliance City launched itself, and we helped them launch it by supporting it. Then it was it was great because there were just so many events happening at the same time around each other in one place. That, however, did involve a lot of work from our end to support it. Our goal here, and one of the goals we've got with the app in general, I think we'll get into that a bit more in time, is extricating ourselves from that process. At the moment, we're the bottleneck for so many different things. And somebody who wants to create an event has to go through us. Somebody who wants to do something like launch a city has to go through us. However, ultimately, it shouldn't have to go through us. That's not the point of a democratic, open metaverse. It's not to be managed and maintained by us. Obviously, we need to make sure that bad things don't happen and we can be involved in moderation. But it's ultimately for the community to create this world, for the community to promote themselves, get their areas up and running and create those worlds. And having to be dependent upon Wendy to have to create the event for them is obviously insufficient in the long term. It doesn't scale.
Yeah, it's
so
not
we will
sustainable.
always be it's not sustainable. I mean, you tried it, Nikki, didn't you? And it was a nightmare, the effort involved. And therefore, just getting to a place where we can let users do that, and then we can support the users that have created the best events by promoting them onto the Oculus Store. Well, that's going to be the future, and that's going to be a very, very, very powerful tool for people and a good revenue generator for people that have storefronts.
What about being able to favorite your favorite places? Is that possible in the discovery menu?
Will probably not be in version 1, but is absolutely in development and will be there. I envisage favoriting places, but also treating them like pins, so you'll be able to favorite a location in the metaverse. In the Infiniverse. So you'll be able to favorite the space park, for example, just as much as you might favorite a certain location or metaverse.
And will those kind of favorites, can you like stuff as well? Would you be able to favorite and like somebody somewhere and it be visible to everybody? So say, for example, there's a place that's really popular and you just fancy browsing around, and then, hey, this place has been liked by X amount of people, go here.
Yeah, I mean, these features are definitely very much on the list. I don't want to go into too much details about likes and things just yet because we haven't designed them. Favorites, I'm happy to talk about because there's not really they're not complicated. Everyone understands bookmarks. Things like likes and stuff we're working on when we've not really flushed out yet. But people want to know whether you'll be able to favorite stuff. The answer's yes, but not in version 1.
And I mean, ultimately, if you think about it, what we would like to be able to get to is a place where the discovery menu lets you group up with people that you care about to do the things that you care about, and interact in the locations that you care about, and things that are relevant to you.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, that's going to be the work that we do for that, and that's going to be something that I think will be very, very enjoyable once it's in and running. I think you guys will like it.
Yeah, I know I've seen it in dev mode, and it's very easy to use. It's very user friendly the way it's formatted. It feels familiar, if that makes sense. So it shouldn't be too difficult, I don't think, for people to get to grips with it. One of the other topics that came up was, when are we going to be adding the balconies that we've been working on?
Soon.
I think
Soon.
believe we said we were aiming for September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point in September, we would love to launch the balconies, where you have the ability to have an apartment with not just a balcony at the front, but a balcony on the left and or the right, depending on the layout of your building. So if your building has a side street on the left and a side street on the right, then you would be able to have a balcony on the left and the right.
Yeah.
Or if you just had a building that was facing forwards with no side streets, then you would be obviously limited to the one balcony.
Yeah.
So making it relevant and dependent upon the environment and the city landscape itself, again, allowing you to choose apartments that have value based upon elements in Infiniverse. So you can look at a building from the outside and you can say, wow, get an apartment in here, a penthouse at the top of this building, and it's going to have a balcony on the left and on the right and at the front.
Yeah, and I know that we've got a couple of the balconies in dev mode at the moment, and they are beautiful. They are. I can't wait until everyone gets to see them. I think you also leaked or teased some on Facebook.
That wasn't me, was it?
Oh yeah, you may have.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I mean, just for transparency on those, the models have been built, so we know what they look like. We've got them working. It's just a case of writing the tech that works out what type of apartment this is, and also working out how we can then apply that tech to the 500,000 existing apartments that have already been purchased, and making sure that it works without annoying anyone. So that's where we are, and that's the You
said this to me once. It's one of those things where if we get it wrong, it will be, very unpleasant for individuals, especially then if we take it away. Let's say we make a mistake and give somebody a balcony on the left and the right when they shouldn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
Removing that afterwards is obviously not very pleasant. So we want to make sure that we get this right. There probably will be niggles, but we want to remove as many of those as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Next question that came in was, in the future, can people use their main TVs in their apartment to connect subscription services like Netflix so that they could watch it in their apartment?
So yeah, that's it. I mean, it's one of those awesome feature ideas that we and users come up with. However, it's limited significantly by the legalities of the platform that you want to stream. So Netflix, for example, doesn't necessarily want to let you stream a show into your apartment for 11 other people to see for free without having paid. And also it could be that you're, I don't know, in France like I am, but the person in the room is Dora from America and Chris from England and Nikki from Germany, and the rights don't carry across for that. So you find yourself in a situation where not just is there obviously a technical hurdle to get over there, but there are legal hurdles that need to be managed and maintained first. Am I right, Chris, or am I talking nonsense?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think we've made a secret about the fact that eventually we intend to make it that you can use browsers inside of storefronts and things. Yes. Once those are in, obviously, anything accessible via a browser will be accessible within Multiverse, provided it doesn't use up so much memory that it crashes Multiverse. And yeah, I mean, well, we won't have control over what people do with those browsers ultimately. So I'd imagine if Netflix works, it works.
Yes.
we shall see.
But then there's syncing issues, and there are sign-in issues and things like that would also need to be managed. So it's one of those things we would absolutely love to support. There are companies that will be starting to support this sort of thing. I know, for example, joke community are looking at ways that sort of thing will be possible in the future. And I know that there are other companies going to be doing that sort of thing in the future. I know, Spotify allows for a certain amount or number of listeners or something like that in certain scenarios. So really, it just comes down to us working with companies to be able to achieve those results, because it is better for all of us, better for us, better for you guys, the users, and it's also better for companies like Netflix or Spotify or whoever else it is we want to work with. But we are, just to be clear, it's one of those things that's complex, not just because of the tech, but also because of the legalities.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say that we won't do it if it's illegal.
Yeah, there is that kind
as
of.
soon as it is, as soon as it is legal, then it's an awesome feature, and we'd love to do stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk jetpacks. We have had so many people asking when the jetpacks are coming. There are people making projects based around the jetpacks because they're so excited about the jetpacks. So when are they coming? Do we want to kind of give out any more information about the jetpacks? Can you share?
Nikki, didn't we announce that we canned the jetpacks?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, they're not coming anymore, the band. Ollie accidentally deleted them with the birds.
That was it.
Yeah.
He deleted them with the birds. Yeah.
No,
jetpacks are awesome and are coming, and I can't give you a date. I think we worked out that they were going to be coming with the launch of another feature, so tied hand in hand, and that other feature is still being developed. The jetpacks themselves have nearly been polished off. I think there's a little bit of gameplay polish that needs to be done on them, but they're pretty slick. Chris, do you want to give insight?
Yeah, I mean, the delay on them, again, just opening up from a tech perspective, is from a gameplay perspective, they work well, but we're still working on tying them into the proper, I guess, the wider economy of multiverse and infiniverse. So we've talked about building utilities and stuff like that. We don't want to just drop in jetpacks as a gameplay feature. We want to drop them in as part of that building utility so that they have a place. And that's what the remaining work is, building utility, and it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the utility. If anybody has not heard of our plans for the utility, feel free to have a look at the FAQ. We had a lovely discussion of it in the last FAQ, in the last AMA. A lot of exciting things were discussed about the possibilities that we had lined up and the reason we can't bring them all out straight away. So highly recommend you go and have a read of the FAQ that have been linked and pinned in the AMA chat and also in the YouTube chat. So I have to ask this on behalf of Fade and many disgruntled and stressed people that use multiverse.io. Are you going to create a folder structure or a bulk deletion or a filtering option for the website when organizing your content? Because I know from my own experience, it can be a little bit tedious.
Honest answer is not soon, unless we hire another web developer. There are many things on our list, and unfortunately, some massive tasks have to get pushed behind other massive tasks. That is the way of things, and we want to get some of these other huge tasks out. I think it's very easy to underestimate the scale of tasks like that, because you look at something like Jetpacks, which is a massive bit of gameplay tied to building utility, and you think, well, that's obviously huge, and then you think, well, it's just a bit of web UI, right, to do deleting stuff on a website, but it's not. That level of web UI and folder structuring and multi-select, there's to work on mobile and things like that. There's months of work there.
Yeah.
And it's not something that is on Ollie or I's schedule
At the moment, no.
right now.
So it's on the list, but not imminently.
It's the truth. Yeah.
And
Can we add just a format C button? My folder button. No, I'm joking. But yeah, the one dreadful thing about being a producer in the games industry is you work out very quickly that all the simple tasks that you thought, well, could the programmer just do that, turn out to be things that require a whole new team of programmers to deliver. So I've been on many, the J word, as Chris calls it. Sam, you just use the J word.
just.
And I do often find myself doing it, and he's good to call it out, but can't we just? And sadly, it's not just at all. But yes, it's on the list. I just can't tell you when.
Yeah, exactly. It's I know from building the multiverse website that just went up to show information and help everybody kind of stay informed with the updates. That was using a guide and templates and a very easy user interface, and it was still stressful and it's still complex. So having to code that from scratch or add features via code when you can imagine it's going to take a long time. So I don't envy the job, but I can see its importance for sure. So another code-based question, Chris. I think this is more about the API that you've been sharing. Somebody has asked if you can, or if you'll ever be able to give out the JSON data to have it updated so that they can complete the map, the map a little bit more, because somebody's actually helping with like Infinimaps, and they're trying to create a more detailed map, and apparently the data needs to be updated.
Well, I'll tell you what I can probably do. I can guess out an updated block of JSON data, but the lake, the water information for areas in the countryside will just show greenery at the moment. That's kind of what's delayed me doing it. But I get the impression people would rather I released something than sat on it until I'd fixed that. So
yeah, I think they're just
eager to get it. I'll try and run something this week to dump out all the stuff.
Chris, that means we would also include the larger area that has cities outside the original map. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Whoop whoop.
That would be amazing. Yeah. People can then say that they're actually on this part of the map and not standing in the void. Mind you, I do like standing in the void.
When we talk about that, Chris, are we just to be clear, are we saying also updating the mini map, or are we just talking about the API?
May as well update the mini map as well, I guess. Although I quite like the void, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, but I can't grow too attached to the void.
Yeah.
A question that came in specifically about our most recent tested feature in the villages was the exclusive and limited buildings. Now, they've seemed to be going over rather well, and people are asking if they could be added, or will they appear any further out into the main areas of the city. Do we have plans on implementing that across the map?
We don't have plans not to. I don't think we have. We've not talked about where to add them next massively, have we, Sam?
This does bring one of the points up that I think we can sort of navigate towards with that statement, which is the goal for Multiverse and for FTL isn't to be the arbiters of everything. We don't want to be the people that control the metaverse. We want everybody else to be the people that control the metaverse. And we want to be in a situation where the metaverse is being built by the community, not just by us. We build the tech. We build the platform that people use. But ultimately, it's a world that we want users to own and users to take care of and users to define. So a lot of what we're doing at the moment, while we've sort of pulled back a little bit, is work that is enabling us to do things like increase customization, increase number of textures for buildings, increase the quality of the app by allowing for, I don't know, for example, we put in the recent texture changes to New York City, or what I think has now been termed Empire City or something. And that world is something we would love to do more of. But to do that right, we need to be able to create the tools and the tech that can support that across the whole map. And so give users the ability to own and benefit from more than just properties.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big statement that we want to get into later. We'll talk more about later, but that is a big part about what we are doing in the background right now, is we are building the tools, the tech, and the capability for us to give away more and more responsibility for the metaverse and hand that over to you, the users, the creators, and the people that actually are making the content there. And that way it's not something that's reliant upon us making a decision as to where to put a limited or exclusive building, but it's something potentially other people have the ability to control and interact with. And that concept is, I'm not going to go into too much more detail here, maybe Chris wants to mention something, but that concept is so powerful and so important for us to tackle over the coming months that you will see us talk more and more about that over the coming AMAs, and we will be announcing more information. But really, think about it, stay attuned to that, and imagine a world in the future where Future Tech Labs provided the tech, you guys create and own the metaverse.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about that, because just knowing how the metaverse is being used at the moment, imagining those spaces being out of our control and in the control of the people making areas at the moment or creating little communities at the moment, I can just imagine the creations and explosions of activity that they could work on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly the big thing I'm conscious of with multiverse and infiniverse is that in terms of the evolution of it and the growing of it, even if you ignore the tech and you just think about the world we have now, the limiting factor is us. There's only so many of us. We can only do so many things, and for this to go up in scale hundreds or thousands of times, it needs to be not just us. And that's kind of the point of all of this, is to transfer that control out of our hands and over to the hands of the people who care so passionately about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
That I think that statement is something that we should, write down and engrave somewhere, because it's absolutely true. It's what we're working towards, and it's something that we're very much looking forward to as a team doing. And the events is a good example of that. The work that we've been doing with events to hand those off of us and off of our shoulders onto other people, so that they can create them without having to worry about getting involved with us. That is again another symptom of where we want to be as a company, and for us as a company to be focusing on.
I think it might be an opportunity to mention, as part of that, one of those steps that we're intending to take, to make that process easier to collaborate. You have changes in mind to help with that, with the subscriptions. Is that correct?
Yeah, big happy changes.
Yeah.
Yay!
Announce them. I'm excited.
You want to announce them, Sam? You're happier than I am.
Yeah, so Chris and I have been talking about changes to the subscription plan for a long time. I mean, this is something that, to be honest, started to show very, very early on. The current subscription plan is successful down at the premium level and into the pro, but it starts to break when it gets up to the business plan. And we have some very big changes that are coming. And those changes are things that we want to share with you. So, first of all, we are looking to make some extremely interesting changes to the way that members and managers of metaverses are managed. So what we're going to be doing is, very soon, Chris is still working on the tech, so we can't tell you exactly when this is going to launch, so bear with us. But we are looking at something, again, within the September timeframe. very soon we will have a situation where there will be infinite members of any metaverse. So whether you are on a free plan, whether you're in a public or private metaverse, whether you're on a business, public or private, you will be able to have infinite members of your metaverse, which ultimately means you can do things like have a private members club. And that's a very
Just to
powerful tool.
clarify there, but you will only pay for a single subscription. That is the big change here. So our current $10 a month, I believe, premium subscription. As many people know, if you wanted 10 members of that, it would cost you $100 a month. That will no longer be the case. If you have a premium subscription with 500 members, it will cost you $10 a month.
Yeah. So this is an extremely big deal, and potentially something that's going to impact us. But we feel it's the right decision to make the metaverse expand, and we think that it's something that, given into the hands of the creative people that we've already got using the app, making the app, and making content in the app, you guys will be able to do some pretty awesome things with. So yeah, being able to create a premium metaverse with infinite managers and infinite members is going to be something that will happen very soon.
And to kind of explain in the context of how currently things are being creatively designed in the Infiniverse by some of our very clever community members. There are people in the app at the moment who have bought storefronts and turned them into VIP lounges or VIP clubs, and they close the doors and they only give access to people by certain times and dates, provided that they've signed up to whatever. With this change that we're planning to do, you could say, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, you could buy a storefront and you could invite only people you want to have access to that storefront via the metaverse.
Yes.
Yeah, because we will no longer have the limitation that storefronts have to be public either. So if you wanted to create a private members club with 500 members in, maybe 100 of those are managers, so they can modify the content and change it, and the other 400 are just there to visit. You could then lock that metaverse if you so desired, so that it was private, but it could still be a storefront, so people would just see a padlock in Infiniverse.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're really interested to see what people do with that. I could completely imagine people actually creating their own businesses outside of Multiverse and charging for membership.
Theoretically, think about the art district. I know that they have been trying for a long time to come up with a way of making a community-built art gallery and then giving access via some sort of subscription or limitation. This is how we could do it.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many applications that we've been discussing that we feel that makes this worthwhile because it enables the community to do things that they couldn't do before. So, Willa has her map patron page, which is awesome. But imagine her being able to give, members of that patron page access to a metaverse with unique content in it. Or imagine Rallo, who does these awesome music shows in Multiverse, being able to have a behind the scenes or an area that is private, and he has a patron page or a different setup where he has members join, but he doesn't have to pay us for each of those members that join. He creates his metaverse, he owns his metaverse, he manages his metaverse, and he invites those people in. So he could have a music show with private access for people that were part of his monetization system. And that doesn't, it goes through from, like you say, the art district to music, to the maps, to people that want to have clubs, or even, I don't know what, the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, there's so many different areas of the app that can benefit from this, that Chris and I felt that this was one of those decisions we just had to make and move forward with.
It was interesting. I think the subscriptions, I mean, the model we started off with them was, we were very much thinking in terms of things like Slack, if you've used it, but enterprise products where, people expect to be paying per member. And what we've really realized over the years is that Multiverse benefits more from promoting collaboration than it does from charging for bigger teams.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about. It's about letting people collaborate and be creative with the metaverses they have, and not hindering them with dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's really
And
interesting.
yes, yeah, I mean, I think we will find that a lot of people will be able to make use of this in a way they haven't before, and it will open up the fact that the private metaverses have value to everybody, not just as they do at the moment to our enterprise clients. So this is a big change that we're making. It's something we're really excited to see, and we'll be implementing as soon as we can, but can't give you a timeline on it. One of the comments from the AMA chat was, will there be a way to charge per permitted user? At the moment, you'll have to do that outside of the app. That's not something that we can support inside, and that's got not to do with us and what we'd like to do, but got to do with the way that Meta run the App Store and the content in it and other things. So there's no way for us to pay out to users based upon that. But we do have creative ideas for how that could work in the future, and how we'll extend upon this functionality into the next year, and how some of those things will really allow you to monetize in very interesting and exciting ways your metaverse and your private areas, things that are going to be powerful. There's another part of all of this I'd like to talk about, which is we have been discussing and we will be implementing alongside this, maybe not exactly at the same time, but in that region, the ability to set up a metaverse that isn't just private or public, but also one that is open to people who own properties in a building you have a storefront in. So that means that you can actually create private clubs in the app by letting people buy into buildings that your storefront is in. Something that will, in a sense, create the beginnings of utility in buildings where you own storefront. This is going to be quite interesting as well. Another area we think that people will be able to explore and utilize, and something that will be developed over time. So all of these things are going to be coming to a metaverse near you very soon. And we will be keeping an eye on them, working with you guys and getting the feedback from you as to what works, what doesn't, how it works, how best to implement and help you guys make the most of it.
With the increase of people being able to join your metaverses, because currently the way that the system is set up is based on subscription. The actual subscription levels are going to change to accommodate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not changing the prices of the free, premium, or pro, but the business price will change, and the cost of a business metaverse will decrease. We're not going to announce exactly what that is yet, but that is on the way. The other thing that will happen is we will be increasing the storage amounts for pro and business. So if you upgrade, you will be able to get more gigabytes of data storage to be able to make a bigger, better, more exciting metaverse. And there are going to be some other details that make it more exciting and interesting and easy to invite people to your metaverse. Things like inviting by link will be opened up to everybody, including to free packages. We're going to be increasing the number of storefronts that you can own in the pro and the business package and enterprise packages. And there are going to be a couple of other small tweaks and nudges to the way that things work across the board, but we'll give you specific details on all of these very, very soon, as soon as we've got them all nailed and on a document that we can point to.
Yeah, exactly.
And not in an AMA where we might get it wrong or say the wrong thing. But ultimately, there are some very big changes coming to the subscription package that I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with.
Yeah. And I know there are a couple of questions here in the chat at the moment about how this new proposed collaboration setup is going to work for alternating between public and private storefronts and existing storefronts. The answer is we don't know the details of exactly how it's going to work for now, but as soon as we have more clarification on those points, we'll make them freely available for everyone to read, and we'll update you as and when we know that information. But for now, this is just concept and execution stages happening after the concept stage. So keep all of that in mind. Things might change over the coming weeks or might change over the coming months. But for now, this is what our plan is, and this is what the idea behind everything is. The next question.
So a couple of quick things that people have been pointing out. I just want to mention World Tartar God talks about streaming. I just want to clarify a couple of things on that. Streaming is an extraordinarily expensive thing for us to manage and do, and therefore is not one of the things that we'll be changing the rules for. The things that we are already doing are going to be costing us quite a bit, and hopefully we think will increase the value of the whole app in general. But streaming isn't one of the things that we can adjust yet. However, even when those things become cheaper on our end to have to pay for and manage, then yes, those are things that we would be looking to do. We don't want to hold them back. It is something we want everybody to have access to because we know that that would be very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't want to bankrupt the company because people leave a stream on for 1,000 people. Or 1,000 people leave a stream on with 1,000 people watching them for a month.
Like the lo-fi hip-hop channel that would definitely down the server straight away.
Exactly. But there's things like that we have to be cautious of. But in general, the key idea here is we are trying to open this up to enable you guys to do as many things as you can. And we'll continue to do that as and when possible.
Yeah. So the next question that we had is kind of related to an announcement we made recently about, for those of you who haven't read the announcement or seen the announcement, we announced that there was going to be 10 villages coming out. We are still intending to do those villages. It's just for now they're on hold whilst we kind of focus on improving the functionality and a few of the features within the app. As we've noticed from the feedback that the testing that we've been doing has provided the best information we can at this moment in time, but the feedback we're getting is we should focus on other things, and quite rightly so. We're focusing on discovery menu. We're focusing on a couple of the stuff that we've announced today. Somebody raised the question about, as part of that announcement we made, we mentioned that artists and developers' work cycles are two separate paths, and they're asking, why is putting a stop on the villages and content drops possible now, when previously in a previous AMA we mentioned that artists and developers, you operate on two different paths and could operate in separate from each other. So I can answer this one because I spoke about it with Sam because I wanted to do an announcement on it. So essentially, for example, you take a drop. Yes, artists can create that drop. They can put the textures in. They can create something for a nice area of the map. But it's still the devs who need to go in and place it and make sure that it's not going to interfere with the buildings around it. They need to change the terrain to accommodate it. And right now, given that most of our devs are very much full up with tasks to meet in the discovery menu and some of the features that we've discussed already and other stuff that we're working on that we can't tell you about, they just don't have the time to accommodate them at the frequency that we were doing before, which was pretty much every 2 weeks or so. So that is why we're now doing our drops once a month. I don't know if everybody has seen it in the event listing on the Oculus listing of events, that we do have one coming up in August for the Music District. So if you haven't seen that, go have a look at the events calendar now, because there is a Music District drop coming in August, and then we have another one scheduled for September. But that is the main reason why we can't.
Yeah, and another, you're 100% right, but another one is an example, for example, textures on buildings like we did for the New York City or the Empire City. That is a good example of one where, technically we could do that again. However, we can't actually do it because we're running out of memory space, and we need to do code that allows us to have more memory that can come in and out, or access to throwing away content that we don't need in memory, pulling new content in before we can actually put, for example, different city textures in all the different cities, or village textures on all the different villages. So there is, there's a lot of different things like that where certain things come up against problems that we then need to solve and resolve before we can move on. Those are what we're working on, but at the same time, as I said earlier, those are all leading towards an even bigger change and advancement in the way that the tech works. That means that we'll be able to not just do more ourselves, but allow you guys to do more yourselves, which is ultimately the end goal here.
Yeah. It's a general. I think the general thing is can be easy. I mean, I think we all do it to take things to extremes, and whilst it is true that artists can produce art independently of programmers, there's still knock-ons.
Yeah.
We still all affect each other, and trying to add new artwork into the game, depending on the artwork, may not require a programmer full time, but it still takes programming time. It still takes people out of one task and into another. And the reality is the more of that we do, the less time we have to create these new features. That ultimately, in the long run, as we've said, are intended to make ourselves no longer the blocker on the development of the multiverse, which is where we all really want to be.
Yeah. Yes. And not to forget, there is already a massive library of artist content that they've sat and created that just can't be added here. And I've seen everyone already knows how beautiful the sculpture work from Roman and Marcus it can be. You have not seen anything yet. Some of the stuff that they've created is breathtaking, but we just need to find the right time to bring that out.
A couple of things. I think you've got one more thing to make sure people are aware of, Nikki, but then I'd love to give a quick summary of some of the things we've talked about.
Yeah, so the thing that I wanted to kind of mention, a couple of people have stumbled across it already, but in the info zone, we have now unlocked the update room door, which now you can go into the app at any point and watch the latest AMA. It will be put on there for you to catch up on whenever. There's also information in there about all the latest announcements that we're putting out, any updates, any issues. So you don't have to always go to the website. If you're in the app and you want to check if there's any new information, go in there, check it out, or you can sit and have a watch of the AMA in there. So yeah. Also, there's some cool little toys that Mrs. Cummings, Wendy, has put in there. So feel free to go and check that out. Feel free to continue, Zan.
Yeah, cool. So I just wanted to reiterate, a couple of big things are coming your way soon, because I know at the beginning of this AMA, some people are asking us to highlight what is being worked on. So I just want to reiterate the discovery menu, or the disco menu, as Leon likes to call it, is a really big task and very powerful, and will be coming out relatively soon. We are working on offers, and offers, even though not necessarily a massive tech task, have to be done right, and Ollie has been working hard on getting those right, making sure that they deliver. We've got the events that are going to be now put into the users' hands, which are coming out. We've got huge subscription changes which are coming, and are going to allow everybody to make a lot more use of the app in general. We have the concept of a club metaverse, or clubhouses, or some other name that we haven't yet nailed down on, that will be enabled, that will allow people to really go to town on giving utility for buildings. And we have things like the drop for the music district, as well as balconies and jetpacks that are all in development. And there's also, on top of everything I've just mentioned, a whole bunch of things I can't even talk about because they're just too super secret to mention.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it. So there are a hell of a lot of things in development. There are a hell of a lot of things coming your way soon. We aren't just slacking off on holiday at the moment. We are busting our balls to make them and deliver them. And no, I'm not going to talk about them, Becca. But yeah, you will see. No, I'm not. you will see a whole load of things coming within the next weeks and through September. So keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears to the ground, be prepared for the next AMA, where I think we probably will announce some even bigger things than we've announced yet. And that is you're going to see some cool things come out as a result of your patience. So first of all, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being with us and supporting us. We are all in the process of doing something really amazing, and it is only going to be getting better and better in the coming weeks and months. So lots of love to you all, especially the info team, who we just cannot thank enough.
Yep.
And Nikki for managing them, looking after them. But yeah, the info team is awesome. And we really do appreciate all of the effort that you put in that allows us to focus on the work. So I'm going to give out a huge, big heart and shout out to you all.
Yep.
Anything else, Chris, I've forgotten to mention? I'm sure I have.
Almost certainly, but
Yeah.
I'll have to wait till the next one
Also,
because I
so
can't remember it.
there are a couple of things that Wendy's been working on that we're not going to mention, but Wendy has been hard at work doing some very cool things and will continue to be doing some cool things. I think you've been seeing some of them recently. There is more to come and even more in the future.
Yeah.
So don't worry, stuff is happening, and the metaverse is getting bigger, cooler. It's going to be awesome.
Can I ask you about something you recently accidentally added to the website, Chris? And to provide some clarity as to why that was there?
That button should only appear if there are templates to switch between. But there was a temporary bug when it appeared, even when there weren't any templates to switch between, which is obviously the case with apartments. You can't change apartment templates.
No, apartment templates
there
don't
you go.
exist.
What a boring answer, but 'tis the answer
I
nonetheless.
imagine that if, for example, there were balconies, then maybe there were templates that we would be
potentially.
Anyway, let's not think about that.
Yeah, let's not say things that turn out to be a bug.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That I'm then committed to.
One of the questions that I keep forgetting to ask is, are we going to make Empire City official?
I have no idea what Empire City is. I don't even know what you're talking about. I deny.
It's a New York
I
district.
deny all knowledge.
Oh, okay.
We shall have to see. I think the question to that will be answered in the coming months as things get announced. So yeah, let's keep that on hold.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems to me that Willa is definitely got her little agenda going, and
yes,
things are happening on the map that even we don't even know about. But yeah, there are some very cool things for you guys coming in that area in how you guys can take control of things in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be a question you have to ask us in the long run.
No.
It should be a question we ask you, if anything else.
Yes.
You make your own.
So is it official? Tell us, people. Is Empire the official name of that city? The Willow agenda, exactly. But yes, I think that's a good way to finish off and line up for the next AMA.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to see some really, really interesting things come out of all of this, and power to the people. That's what I say.
For sure. So thank you both for attending the AMA. I appreciate you sitting in a very warm room, sweating, and staring at your pool sun, and definitely not going to getting it now. And I am very happy everyone joined us. Again, the VODs or the video on demand will be available both in the app now, in the update room, and on YouTube. So if anyone's missed it, or if anybody wants to rewatch or re-listen to this, you can catch it on YouTube. But yes, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Nikki, for sorting this out and arranging it. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. There'll be more in the future, so I'm excited to continue doing this forever.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone. See you all
later.
Bye.
Bye.